Hey guys, got any mics, so hopefully this sounds a lot better. And I'm trying to get all the gain stuff right, all the compressor, the EQ and stuff, and so I hope it doesn't clip too much or anything like that. I'll be monitoring it throughout. But I want to talk about why I think Overwatch is a deceptively difficult game to most people. What do I mean by this? Let's define this first. Overwatch is a game that does not appear to be that difficult, and lots of people that play it seem to find it difficult to understand why it's hard, and they find it easy even if it's not easy. I think Overwatch is a very difficult game, and I'm not just saying that from a bias of, oh, I play it a lot, so it must be difficult. But I think it is a difficult game that has a pretty difficult floor, but if you had played like previous shooter games, Overwatch appears to be a lot easier than other games. And let's just talk about that. Let's just break that down and let's just get into it. So my first reason why it is deceptive, why it doesn't feel as difficult, is because games a lot of the time can feel out of your control if you do not understand it. You have 4 other hooligans on your team that could not be healing properly, could be taking bad angles, could, be playing a really shitty matchup into the other tank, could, be playing with their brain off, and you can easily blame them, and it's very easy to fall onto that and not end up blaming yourself and noticing your own mistakes, because the game can just feel so not in your control because of all these other factors. Not saying other games don't have that, but it's quite easy with other games, just ones that I've played like Valorant, CS, even League. It's possible to realize and just play your own game and make your own mistakes, and then if other people are thrown or whatever, yes, you can complain about that. But in Overwatch, it can be very easy to go to every single game and think that you are not the limiting factor in any of those games, even if you are. Another point, it's still a shooter, even though it's obviously a very weird first-person shooter, and shooters appear easier, especially if you've played others. Like, the difficult games people talk about are like League and Dota, and like these are games that aren't shooters. They have lots of unique mechanics, and I think the reason they appear more difficult is actually just because people haven't played them before and they don't recognize the patterns. Whereas someone who's played a bunch of shooters can just recognize, oh well, if I click this guy's head and I shoot him from this angle and I shoot him from here, they're going to do damage and he's going to die. It's quite easy to understand that. And so that's how Overwatch looks at a surface level, but there's lots of deeper stuff that aren't just shooter mechanics, and that is something a lot of people can't see, and so they don't realize the difficulty of Overwatch. I kind of touched on this with my first point, but it's hard to know what you're doing wrong. It's really difficult to figure out personally what you're doing wrong, especially without a VOD review. Just in the game, can you figure out what you're doing wrong? It's quite difficult. You have to already understand the game. Whereas in CS or Valorant, you could be like, oh, I just played that gunfight wrong, I just missed it. Oh, I shouldn't have, peeked into 4 people. Oh, bad flash, stuff like that. It's quite easy to know as soon as you die. You also get downtime to think about it. Whereas Overwatch is such a high uptime game, it's very difficult to get that moment to yourself to reflect. There are also lots of things to do wrong in Overwatch, and that almost muddies itself. So if you're doing everything wrong, it's hard to know what specifically if everything's going wrong. Do you know what I mean? And kind of linked, dying is not always the result of something bad. In a lot of games, if you die, you kind of messed up, and you can kind of use that as a point of reflection of, hey, why did I die here? You can to an extent with Overwatch, but it doesn't work. I'm telling you, if you go back to VOD reviews and you just look at deaths, you will get absolutely nothing from it. Sometimes you kind of have to die, but if you've made a lot of space, you've got ults out and cooldowns out, and your team is capitalized off of your space taken, and they might have got 2 picks out of it. There's just a wider context you have to look at, and it could be you made the wrong decision, but you had a micro misplay. So you could have the right angle, the right dual on tracer, you just whiffed a mag, or you didn't blink melee properly, you missed the health back, things like that. And what good does that really teach you? Obviously, if in every fight you are consistently missing blink melees, then you have something to practice. But if every death you're just like, oh, I died here, I shouldn't do that, I played too aggressive. No, it's just hard to understand. It's very difficult for someone to understand that if they haven't played Overwatch a lot. Even people that played Overwatch a lot but have never reached a relatively high rank by percentage, better than other people rank, it's hard to know. Now, let's move on to why I think Overwatch is actually really difficult of a game. I want to first preface this, every game is difficult. Like, this is a crazy opinion to think that, some games are easier. There are easier floors and lower ceilings, but every game is very difficult to master and play the highest level, because at the end of the day, you're still competing against a pool of people, and you have to be better than a percentage of people. no matter what you do, it doesn't really matter. You still have to be better than the people, so every game becomes difficult. It, like, almost statistically is how it works. Again, that being said, some games are easy to learn, some games are easy to get into. I think Overwatch is not particularly easy to get into at a, like, competitive level, whereas I think casuals can kind of mess about with it and have fun, but there's a lot to learn. And let's just get right into that. There's, like, millions of matchups. There's 44 heroes in the game right now. Your team can play 5, the other team can play 5. The odds here of playing, like, the different thing every game is insane. I don't even want to do the maths. We are talking billions of options of a game, right? This means game to game is very difficult because you don't get the same pattern every single time. It takes a long time to understand every single matchup, to understand what this character does, how this one works, what this one does, what that does, this cooldown time, this damage, this ult, this whatever, how long it's going to take that person to build the ult other than that person. Like, there's just so much, and it just takes a lot of time, and there's no shortcut in it other than time. And I think that makes Overwatch inherently quite difficult just because of how much matchup potential there is. Not saying other games don't also have this, I'm just saying it exists here as well. I think League is even worse, and I think even Siege is even worse, but at least in Siege, the characters' kits are all, they are unique. Yes, I'm not going to deny this, but they are all still contained in a same sort of vibe of Siege. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Overwatch is way too, like, way too wacky with its characters. It almost, like, nothing is really that similar. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't compare Brig to Widow almost. It's just like, what even are these two characters? Anyway, next point. There's also a ton of maps. There are so many maps now, and they are across multiple game modes. It's not all in one game mode. Learning all the routes of a map, learning all the different parts of the map, because fights will take place across the map, especially Flashpoint. I think that's why Flashpoint is so hated by casual players. I talk about this in a video of why people hate new game modes. Go check that one out. But it definitely is a big factor. These big maps, loads of maps, makes it very difficult to learn the game quickly, because again, our brain is about pattern recognition, and if there's 50 maps, the chances of us seeing the same map over and over are so much lower now, so we're going to learn it at a slower rate. It's just going to take a while. Obviously, for the higher end, this makes the game more fresh and more fun, but at the cost, getting into the game takes a lot of time and work. Also, the addition of perks. Now, I don't know everyone's perks, but at the same time, understanding perks is now another layer of understanding the matchup, understanding these options. Everyone gets 4 different options, so you kind of have to know which ones they're taking and what that actually enables. Again, I haven't changed my playstyle too much based off of a perk someone took, but it's just good to know that when I'm fighting this Tracer, when she recalls, she's going to have her blinks back, so I can't greed the fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's small micro like that, but it adds up over time, and it can make it more difficult to learn. Also, the game is almost 10 years old. It has been learned, and it has been adapted on at the highest level at an insane amount. It's like, just, the game is known, which makes it so much more difficult to learn because there's such a big skill gap. Because the people in, like, Diamond even, like, I know GM players or whatever want to look at Diamond and be like, you know, piss low, whatever, so you want. But these Diamond players now know the game so much better than a GM player like 8 years ago, right? Like, it is, because it's crazy. There's a massive skill gap now from that Diamond to the new players. Even though Diamond almost should be fairly achievable, there's a lot more to learn, or just good mechanics will get you there, to be honest. So yeah, that is something to note. Game's old, takes longer to learn, makes it more difficult to learn. It also makes it way more difficult for someone like me who kind of wants to start pushing themselves more towards hitting that high master GM range. I know there's obviously people going about elo inflation, and it's happened, and it happens to some people, it doesn't happen to everyone, whatever, ignore all that. It is going to be more difficult for a person like me to push in there, because I'm now competing with people who've been playing the game for so long and have been GM for 8 years, and I've got to somehow push myself into that. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Also, I kind of mentioned this earlier. I'll just briefly say it. Really unique characters make the game more difficult because not everyone's the same. Valorant is easy to learn, even though there's different characters. Everyone shoots a Vandal or a Phantom or a Sheriff. Like, it's not as difficult, and the characters can't do nearly as much as characters in Overwatch can do. But Overwatch, every character has a unique weapon and unique ability set. Like, it is way more difficult to learn. So yeah, that's that. Let me know your thoughts. I want to know, do you think Overwatch is really difficult? I mean, it is difficult, but most games are difficult. I do think it's difficult for new players. I've had new players try play it. People without previous FPS experience find Overwatch very difficult. People that have previous experience usually play characters like Soldier, Cast, Ashe, and have a decent time. They'll get like Plat or something, even maybe low Diamond. But otherwise, learning the actual game is quite difficult. And I think it's also deceptively difficult. That was the main point. People don't realize how difficult the game is. It doesn't appear nearly as hard as it is. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more. I hope the audio quality was better here, and I hope to improve quality for the future. And I want to stream more now that I've got a better mic and I can set it all up better. And over this next weekend, I'm going to work on a schedule, and I want to push myself to reach a high rank soon. So we're going to have a bunch of changes there, and that'll all start next season. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace and love. See you all in the next one.